Hello, good morning. Today I will talk about cryptography part 2. The first topic is about public key encryption and decryption. We also call this asymmetric encryption. Last time we already talked about the symmetric encryption. In the scheme of symmetric encryption, both of the sender and the receiver have the same secret key. Well, that's the reason why we call it symmetric encryption. One issue in symmetric encryption is how to distribute the key to different parts. For example, you already created the secret key. From one site, how to distribute to another site. If the receiver and sender are nearby, you can walk to the office and tell the other side your secret key. However, if one part is in New York, another part is in London. If the key is created in London, you want to send to New York, you still need to through the network. So there is a send issue. So what's the better solution? The better solution is to use public key encryption. In public key encryption, there are two types of keys. One is public key and the other is private key. This figure just shows the basic scheme for public key encryption and decryption. For example, this side is the sender. The user is called Bob. Another side is Alice. Here we can call the Alice is a computer name, okay? Bob is another computer name. So in the public key encryption and decryption, the plain text will first be encrypted by Alex's public key. Okay? Then we get ciphertext. The ciphertext will transmitted to Alex's side. After Alice received the ciphertext, it will use its private key to decrypt it, then get the plain text again. So if you guys see here, this is a public key. We named by PUA, okay? This side is private key. We call the PRA. So these two keys are different. So this kind of encryption and decryption scheme also we call asymmetric encryption. We just talked about the public key and the private key. Public key is known by anybody. It can be used to encrypt message, but it cannot be used to decrypt message. For the private key, it is only known to recipient. It is used to decrypt the messages. There are some public key algorithms The first one is called Diffie-Hellman key exchange algorithm. For this algorithm, it was developed to allow exchange of a secret key. For example, in symmetric encryption, we need to distribute the shared secret key. So we can use Diffie-Hellman algorithm to realize the exchange. Besides the program for key exchange, we also have other public key algorithms. Another one is called RSA. It was developed in 1977 at MIT. It's the only widely accepted public key encryption algorithm. The difference between RSA and this one lies that this one is only developed for exchange of the secret key, but this one was developed to encrypt and decrypt the message, not just the secret key. Definitely, it can also be used to allow exchange of a secret key. Besides these two, there is another one we called ECC. ECC is new and the security is like RSA, but with much smaller keys. It is suitable for low computational power equipment, such as sensors. We have a video here to show how the Diffie-Hellman key exchange work. I will let you guys first to watch this video.
Exchange is a protocol that two people can use over a shared network connection, for example, to come to a shared key that they want to use for encryption. But let's jump into this in more detail. So symmetric key crypto lets two people share secret messages as long as they already have a shared key, right? So Alice and Bob can send each other encrypted messages, but they need to know the key that the other one is using. That's a problem with symmetric key crypto. Because how do we make sure that Alice and Bob know that key? So how do you share secret messages with someone when you don't already have a shared key with them? So what if Alice and Bob want to exchange secret messages, but they don't already have a key? What do? Well, they can't use symmetric key crypto because they don't have a shared key together. So the Diffie-Hellman problem is meant to help with that. Now, lots of computers on the internet, for example, want to be able to communicate through encrypted means, and they've never exchanged a key before. And so that's an example of an issue where this needs to occur. So if you go to Amazon to make a purchase and you use your credit card, well, you want that information to be encrypted between you and Amazon. But you've never gone to Amazon to exchange a secret key. So how do you make that work? Okay, so before we get into exactly how we handle this key distribution problem, I want to add a new character to our cryptographic game so far. So we already have Alice and Bob. And Alice and Bob have some sort of way that they're communicating messages back and forth. And I'm going to call this an insecure channel, meaning that it doesn't provide any sort of confidentiality or integrity. You put messages on it, they get to the other side, but you don't really know what happened in between. It's not secure. Eve is an eavesdropper, meaning someone who just watches what happens on that insecure channel, but doesn't change anything. So she's just watching the messages that Alice and Bob send back and forth. So Eve the eavesdropper is an attacker who can see Alice and Bob's messages, but Eve can't modify them. She's what we call a passive attacker, meaning she doesn't do anything except watch. Real-world examples of people who could be Eve, not necessarily that they are, but your internet provider could potentially just look at any internet traffic you generate, Most governments have the ability to look at internet traffic generated within their borders. Anyone nearby you, if you're using unencrypted Wi-Fi, like we have here at QU, someone else on the same network can do some work to make themselves into an eavesdropper in your connection. There's lots of potential ways that someone could view traffic that you're producing for on the internet, for example. Okay, so let's look at exactly what Eve can do. So Alice and Bob want to exchange messages. So Alice takes her secret message she wants to send to Bob. She doesn't encrypt it, she just sends it. And when she sends it across that insecure channel, well, it passes through Eve's vision and Eve makes a copy, because Eve can see everything that's communicated between Alice and Bob. Well, that's bad, right? Because Alice and Bob want confidential messages. So if Eve can see everything they do, then of course we need at least some sort of encryption, because that's the most obvious thing that they would want to do. So how do they choose a key? Well, that's the important question. If Alice and Bob have never communicated before, how do they choose a key? How do they make that work? So here's an idea. How about if Alice picks a key, she just chooses one at random, and she sends it to Bob, and then she encrypts a message with that key and sends that to Bob. Well, now Bob has the key and the encrypted message, and he can just decrypt it with the key. That should work, right? I mean, we're using encryption, and if Eve intercepts the message, well, she can't necessarily decrypt it, but it doesn't work, hopefully for obvious reasons that you'll see. If Alice generates a key and sends it to Bob, well, Eve can see everything that Alice and Bob exchange, including the key. So now Eve has a copy of the key, and when Alice sends her encrypted message to Bob, Eve makes a copy of that too, and now Eve has the key and the message, and she can just decrypt it and do whatever she wants. So that's not going to work. So even though it sounds like a good, simple idea, hopefully for obvious reasons, you can see why you can't just send the key over the same insecure channel that you want to send the message over. Okay, so we can't pick a key and send it. We could pick a key together offline. So Alice and Bob could get together in some secret place, in person, and they could exchange keys. But this just is not feasible in the general case because there's too many people that you want to do encrypted communication with. Especially on the internet, there's a lot of different services you want to use. So that's just not a good option. So our solution is the Diffie-Hellman key exchange. This was invented by Whitfield Diffie and Martin Hellman in 1976. Ironically, it was independently invented at GCHQ, which is kind of the British government spy agency, a few years earlier, but they never released it because for them it was a national secret. So some of their math guys invented this same protocol, but never released it, and then a few years later, independently, Diffie and Hellman also discovered it, and they did release it. What the Diffie-Hellman key exchange allows is it allows Alice and Bob to exchange a key without Eve learning it. So that's important, and let's see how this works. Diffie-Hellman is based on some complex mathematics, not too complex, we'll look at them later in this talk. But in order to give you the idea first, we're going to start by describing it using colors, paint specifically, and then we'll look at the mathematics. So here's how the protocol would work if we were doing it with paint. In this case, instead of Alice and Bob trying to come together to form a secret key, Alice and Bob are going to come together to try and form a secret color. And Eve's job is to try and figure out what color Alice and Bob have agreed upon in secret. So the first part of the protocol is that Alice and Bob agree publicly on just some starting color. Let's say blue. So they announce to each other and to the world, blue is our starting color. Well, if they announce it to the world, Eve knows that, so Eve knows that their starting color was blue. Next, Alice and Bob each pick a secret color. In this case, we'll have Alice pick this burnt orange, and we'll have Bob pick this light green. Now it's a secret. Alice picks her color, Bob picks his color. They don't tell anybody, even each other, what their secret colors are. So that means Eve doesn't know the secret colors, because they never send it to anyone. In the next step, Alice is going to take the blue color that everybody knows about and her secret color, and she's going to mix them together. And in this case, when you mix that blue and that burnt orange, you get kind of an ugly looking pink. And Bob's going to do the same thing. He's going to mix together the blue and his secret green, and you get kind of a slightly more bluish green. So what do we have so far? Alice and Bob each know the publicly known blue. They each have their own secret color. And now they have a bucket of paint that's a mix of the publicly known color and their secret color. So they're going to exchange their mixed colors. And after they do that exchange, because it's over the insecure channel, Eve now knows the mixed colors. So now Eve knows the publicly known, everybody knows blue, and she observed the mixed colors that Alice and Bob sent to each other. Now the next step is where the trick happens. Alice is going to mix together her secret color with Bob's mixed color, and she's going to get a color at the bottom, which kind of begins to look like gray. Bob is going to do the exact same thing. He's going to mix Alice's secret color, he's going to mix his secret color with Alice's mixed color, and he's going to get the same color. So let's pause for a moment. Why does he get the same color? Well, he gets the same color. Let's look at what created these colors. So in Bob's case, this grayish color was created when he mixed his secret color with Alice's mixed color. What produced Alice's mixed color? Blue and her secret orange. So this is actually a mix of blue, orange, and green. Well, Alice's mixed color here, this final one at the bottom, is a mixture of her secret color and Bob's mixed color. Well, what created Bob's mixed color? Blue and Bob's secret color. So the same three colors were mixed together in both cases. In both cases, there was a mix of blue, Alice's secret color, and Bob's secret color to produce this kind of gray. So Alice and Bob each independently were able to mix together things in order to get the secret color. But Eve, on the other hand, only has blue and the two mixed colors. She doesn't have either secret color, so she can't produce the final shared color that Alice and Bob agreed on. She simply doesn't have the pieces to do it. So she's confused. She doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know the final secret color that Alice and Bob agreed on, and Diffie-Hellman worked. Okay, so Eve can't determine the secret color because she doesn't have the right colors to mix together. She only has these other mixed colors. This works based on two assumptions in the case of colors. We assume that paint is easy to mix, which is true, and we assume that paint is hard to unmix, which is also true. Because if I give you a bucket of paint and say, I mixed this from two other colors, I want you to figure out what the two other colors were, there's not much you can do with that. You're not going to be able to do it. So based on those two assumptions, Diffie-Hellman would work for colors. Now, this is just an analogy, because the actual Diffie-Hellman algorithm is not about colors. It uses mathematics. So, let's see, what kind of mathematics would we use for this? So in math, Diffie-Hellman is based on modulo exponentiation, which is really not that hard of a concept. And it makes use of prime numbers and primitive roots, which is a slightly harder concept. But the basic math for this is not hard. So let's walk through an example where I can show you what this looks like with smaller numbers, so you can at least see what kind of math we're doing. I want to say that this example is taken from Wikipedia, and Wikipedia has a lot of excellent cryptographic explanations, which is why I used theirs here. Okay, so the first step in doing Diffie-Hellman, real Diffie-Hellman, except with small numbers, is that Alice and Bob agree on a prime number p and a base value g. So in this case, I'm just going to pick them. I'm going to say p equals 23 and g equals 5. These numbers aren't secret, and in this example, I signify numbers that aren't secret by making them blue. Secret numbers will be red. So blue means it's not a secret, or it's something that they communicate over the insecure channel. Red means it is a secret and they never communicate it over the insecure channel. Okay, so Alice and Bob agree on a prime number and a base value, p equals 23 and g equals 5. From the color example, this is the same as them just agreeing on a color, right? So they're just agreeing on that first initial color. Here they're picking two numbers. Alice is going to choose a secret number, a, and she's going to send to Bob capital A, which is calculated in this way. G, one of the numbers that they chose, to the power of A modulus B. Okay, so let's say that Alice's secret number is 6. She would do A equals 5 to the 6 mod 23. Well, 5 to the 6 is 15,625. If I do that modulo 23, I get 8. Okay, so Alice calculates capital A equals 8, which here, this is the equivalent of, from the color scenario, Alice choosing her own secret color, lowercase a, and then she mixes it together with the shared color and gets capital A, 8. we're just using math instead of paint. We're doing modulo exponentiation. Okay, now Bob's going to do the exact same thing. He's going to choose the secret number lowercase b, and he's going to calculate capital B, which is g to the little b mod p. So if we make b equal 15, Bob just picked the secret number. Then capital B equals 5 to the 15 mod 23. 5 to the 15 is this really big 30 billion or so number. If I do that modulo 23, I end up with 19. So now Alice and Bob have both calculated capital A and capital B, and they've sent those to each other, so they've exchanged them. So now what do they do? We're at the point in the color mixing scenario where they've exchanged their mixed buckets of paint. And here they've exchanged their mixed numbers. Okay, so Alice is going to compute the final secret shared number. And that secret shared number is, in her case, capital B, which is the shared item she got from Bob, to the power of A, modulo B. So the shared number she got from Bob was 19. Her secret number was 6. So if she does 19 to the 6 mod 23, she's going to get 2. So Bob's going to do the same computation, but with the numbers that he has. He's going to use Alice's shared number, capital A, to the power of his secret number B, modulo B. And so he's going to do 8 to the 15 mod 23, which gets this massive number here. When you take that modulo 23, you get the secret number is 2. So Alice and Bob now share a secret, s equals 2, that can't be derived from the public information in blue. So Diffie-Hellman, in this way, lets them come to a shared secret conclusion that is not known to Eve, the eavesdropping attacker. So if Alice and Bob wanted to do standard symmetric key cryptography at this point, they could, because they could use their shared secret, S, as their key. Now, in practice, Diffie-Hellman uses much bigger numbers than this. A, B, and P would be much larger than they were in the simple example. In fact, they would be hundreds of digits long. So instead of a number like 23, it would be like a 100-digit long number. And the reason that this works is because Eve can't use A and B to figure out the secret numbers lowercase a and lowercase b that were chosen by Alice and Bob. So capital A and capital B are public, little a and little b are private, and Eve cannot determine the private numbers. The problem, in order for her to do that, she'd have to solve what's called the discrete log problem, which would be to somehow figure out how to turn A into the base components that were used to create it. And right now, we don't know how to do that. I want to point out something really important about Diffie-Hellman. Diffie-Hellman doesn't prove who you share the key with. All it proves is that whoever you were talking to shares a key with you that no one else knows. But you have no way to verify within Diffie-Hellman who that is. And that'll become important later on. Okay, so summing up. Symmetric key crypto has a major problem. And that problem is, how do two people who don't know each other share a key? People who've never communicated before. A Diffie-Hellman key exchange lets them compute a shared key even in the presence of an eavesdropper, Eve. And I want to note that if Eve was active instead of passive, so if Eve was not a passive attacker who just watched, but she was an active attacker who manipulated messages, this wouldn't work. And we're going to try to do an in-class exercise that demonstrates that. So that's all for now. Thanks.
Okay, that's for this algorithm. In fact, there are some mathematics here. If you don't understand the mathematics there, that's fine, because for you guys just work as a project manager, something you don't need to understand the detailed things. We already know we have symmetric and the asymmetric. Okay, in fact, in real application, if you compare these two methods, you will find symmetric is simple and generally is fast. But the issue, you need to distribute the key beforehand. But for the asymmetric, generally it's much slower. But it's easy pre-distribution for public keys. From the video, we just know there are two attacks. One is called passive attack. Another is called active attack. For the symmetric and the asymmetric, CryptographY method. Generally, it's good to against passive attack. But sometimes there is active attack. What does active attack means? Let's see this figure. We have sender and we have receiver. If the sender sends a message to the receiver, in the middle, some people just observe these messages, but he will not change the message. We call this is a passive attack. But if the attacker did not just observe the message, they also modify the message, then send the modified message to the receiver. Then we call this attacker is active attacker. So for the encryption only protects the passive attack. We can let this person cannot know what the inside this message. But we cannot protect this guy against the change this message. He got this message, they can change. So there are some other technology to let the receiver know where this message is changed and where the message is from. Generally, we call the method message authentication. Okay? So, message or data authentication is a procedure that allows communicating parties to verify that the receiver or stored message are authentic. As I just talked now, there are two important aspects for message authentication. One is verify the content of the message have not been altered. The second is the source is authentic. There are three ways for message authentication. The first way is message encryption. The second is the message authentication code method. The third one is to use hash function. First, we know the symmetric encryption can be used for message authentication. Why? Let's see, this is the source A, this is destination B. So source A wants to transmit this message to destination B. So we can do the encrypt use symmetric method. Then we get the ciphertext. Then we decrypt ciphertext, use the secret key. Then we get the original message. Because only the sender and the receiver know the secret key. So if we successfully decrypt the message, that means the message should be from the sender with shared secret key. That we can authenticate the sender. Because other attacker, they don't have this key. So they cannot send this message. So for the symmetric encryption, it has two functions. One is they can make the message confidential. The second, it also can be used to authenticate the sender to verify who sent this message. Besides the symmetric encryption can be used to authenticate the message. Also, we can use public key system to perform authentication. This shows the flow chart. You have plain text, then use a private key to encrypt the message. Then we send it to the receiver. After the receiver receives this cipher text, they use the public key to decrypt the message, then get the message. See, this scheme can be used to authenticate the sender because only the sender have the private key. The attacker does not have this private key. So if I use the public key to decrypt the message, and the message is shown as plain text, which means this message is sent by Bob, not the other. But this scheme cannot be used to encrypt the message for confidentiality, because confidentiality means the attacker cannot decrypt the message, but the public key is public. So the attacker also have the public key. So the attacker can also decrypt the message, but it cannot modify the message because the attacker don't have the private key. Besides the encryption, the second way for message authentication is use message authentication code. We also call the MAC. The basic idea is like this. If you want to send a message, this rectangle is a message, okay? Send it to the receiver, okay? This side, let's use the pen, okay? This is the sender, okay? This is the sender side, okay? This is the receiver side, okay? So in the sender side, we have a message, okay? This is the message you want to send, the rectangle. So before you send this message, they will send this message to some MAC algorithm, okay? The algorithm also use the secret key. It's K here. Then this MAC algorithm will use message and secret key K as input. They create a value called MAC value. Okay? This MAC value will be appended to the message. Okay? So when you send the message, not just send the message itself, it also send the MAC value. Send this together to the receiver. After the receiver receive this message plus the MAC code, first it will extract the message part, okay? Extract the message part, then send it to the MAC algorithm. This MAC algorithm and this one are the same. The K also are the same. So this message and the K as the input use the MAC algorithm will create some MAC code here. Also, you extract from the received message, get this MAC value. Okay, you compared these two MAC value to see whether it's the same. If some hacker in the middle, okay, they change the message, okay, then the message will send to the MAC algorithm and the K. So this MAC code will be different from the MAC code sent by the sender. That means some hacker has attacked the message and modified the message. That's the basic idea. Okay. Beside the MAC code, another thing we used for message authentication is hashing. In hashing, a hash algorithm is applied to a bit string of any length. The result of the calculation is called the hash. For a given hash algorithm, all hashes are the same short length. In fact, a hash is widely used, such as shadow password in Linux or digital signature. Why hash are used so often? Because it provides better security, short string, and fast. This shows a hash example. For example, you have some keys, okay? You can use some hash function to create the hash codes corresponding to the message. John Smith, the hash value is 02. Lisa Smith, the hash value is 01. Sam Dong, the hash value is 04. Sanjay D, the hash value is 02. So if you guys pay attention here, the length of hash of the corresponding message have the same length of 2. Another example for hashing is called MD5 hash. The message is as follows. Then we use the MD5 function to create the hash value will be this one. Another message, see here, is similar to the first message, but there is a small difference here. This is dog, this is Coke. However, we use this message as the input of the hash function. Then we create the hash value as follows. If we compare these two hash values, you will find they are totally different. But the original message, just a small difference. This is D, this is C. From these two hashes, you will find the hash value is the same length. Okay? But the hash are totally different. Which means from the hash value, it's difficult to guess the original message. So we call this features of hash is one way. This is the basic idea how a hash value corresponding to a message is created. You have a message, okay? This is your message. The length is L. Then, through some hash function, then you get the hash value H. You must pay attention that the length of hash value H is fixed length. So what's the difference between the encryption and the hash? We will find hash is one way. We have message, then we can get a hash code. But if you have a hash code, you cannot get the original message. But for the encryption, you have a original message through some encryption, okay? You get ciphertext, okay? The ciphertext is same to hash code. But the ciphertext, you can use the decryption. Okay, you can go back to get the original message. So that's encryption is reversible, but hash is irreversible. That's the difference between these two. Why we use hash? Because we use it for message authentication. There are three ways for message authentication based on hash function. The first way, you combine the hash function with conventional encryption for message authentication. For example, this is a message. Then first you through the hash function to create hash code. Okay, this hash code. Then this hash code will be encrypted using symmetric encryption. So this is the key. Then we get encrypt hash value. Then this encrypt hash value code will be attached to the message. Okay, similar to the MAC code. Then send to receiver. So after the receiver receives this message and its encrypt hash code, they will do two things. One thing will get the message part, then through the hash function to compute the hash code here. Okay, we have the hash code H. The same, we extract the hash. Then we extract the encrypt hash code. Then do the decrypt. Then we get the hash code. We compare these two hash code. If the same, that means the message is not modified during its transmission. And also we can verify this message is sent from the sender who create this message. If the message was modified during the transmission here, then the message will be sent here, then create some hash value. This hash value will be different from the hash value here. So we can verify the attacker has changed the message. It can be used to authenticate the message. This is combined with the conventional encryption. The second way is use the hash function combined with the public key encryption. The flowchart is similar. The only things for the encryption we use private key here. For the decryption of the hash code we use the public key. Okay? Other things is the same. We also need to compare this hash value. Okay? Compute based on the message transmitted. Also, this one will be get from the transmit encrypt hash value. If these two are the same, that means the attacker did not modify the message. If not equal to each other, that means this message was modified by the attacker. The third way is to use a secret value. Okay? We don't have encryption, decryption here. We just have a secret value here. Okay? We call it S. Then this S and the message combine together to be used as the input of the hash function. Then we get the hash value. Then this hash value will attend to the message, then send to the receiver. After the receiver received the message, okay, first they will extract the message, okay, then add the S value. This S value is kept in both the send and receiver. The attacker, they don't know this S. So we have this S and combine with message, then send it to the hash function, create a hash code 1, okay. At the same, we extract the hash value, computer at the send side, okay. We call it H2. We compared H1 and H2. If they are equal, that means this message is not modified during the transmission. If H1 not equal to H2, that means the message is modified during the transmission. Because the attacker does not have the S value. So even he has the message, okay, he got the message, but he does not have the H value. So even he has a H function, the code he create, we call it H3. The H3 is impossible to equal to H2. Okay, so that can be used to verify the message is modified or not modified. One important is the define of the hash function, because there are many hash functions. The first one is called MD5 hash function. It is designed by Rivest. It creates 128-bit hash. Okay, but the MD5 was defeated by mathematician in 2004. Besides the MD5 hash function, we also have HSA series hash function. We call SAR series hash function. Okay, they are most widely used hash algorithms. There are series SAR function, SAR1, SAR2. SAR1 generally should not be used because they have been shown to be unsecure. Currently, the most used is SAR2 series. There are SAR 2056, SAR 384, SAR 512. They provide improved size and security. Okay, but this kind of function are sort of complex, so I don't want to you guys know the details here. But you will know we have several ways to define hash functions.